into it.
I'm sorry.
This is also before we even, you know what I'm saying? Longest stream all time, 5 hours and 40 minutes. Let's get it.
There's a big difference between the people who are telling people go out and get fat. I'm sorry. There's a big difference between the people who are telling people go out and get fat versus a Lizzo who's saying accept me the way I am.
She's not just saying accept me the way I am. She's dressing extremely scantily clad and then saying if you don't think that it's normal for
careers.
Okay, wait.
Fat or skinny is a choice.
Yes, it is. You can't. You're not born fat, my nigga. The food doesn't teleport into your belly. Being fat is a choice. 63% said no.
Agreeers?
Wow. Who agrees? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, being fat or skinny is a choice.
Of course, not every factor is purely choice. I don't think that every factor is, but I do think a majority of it is. And in most cases, for most people, being skinny or being fat is about willpower. It's about the environment you grow up in, sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But who you choose to associate with, what sort of things you choose to listen to, who you choose to kind of have as your friends around you and support you. All of those things are choices that you can make that will lead you closer towards being one or the other.
I know what I do with my body. I know what I put into it, day in and day out. I choose not to eat some days.
What?
I choose, how I want to look. And I don't fault anyone for how they want to look or how they want to
I be eating every day. I ain't gonna lie, bro. That's nuts.
I'm very, always wish-washy on how I want to be presented and if I want to gain weight.
Like a lot of people are.
But the only person that's going to gain the weight at the end of the day is me and me myself.
For me, it's calories in, calories out. Go to the gym, you'll get buff. Don't go to the gym, you won't get buff. I understand that there's genetics that could cause you to want to eat more, but even with the genetics that cause you to want to eat more, the same solution is calories in, calories out.
I think the whole choice is, always determined on who they are.
Yeah.
It's not going to just be a thing done overnight.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of.
It does take time.
I think it's like
that's like everything in life, bro. It takes time,
breaking
bro.
a lot of things, not only your body, but also breaking your mental state.
Sure.
And again, that depends on who you are and what you want to go through.
Disagreeers?
Disagreeers. I'm curious to see what y'all had to say, bro. How is being fat or skinny not a choice? Niggas don't come out the room 300.
I always viewed myself as big. I grew up in a very poor home, so where my mom couldn't provide the meals that she could healthily. So when we would get free meals, even then it would be canned food, and it would be very much food that's not as edible. It was food for us, yes, but then I felt like once it reached a point where I was old enough to try to make my own choices, I made all of the wrong choices. I wasn't eating, and I was only eating grapes and lettuce, and that was mainly because I was in a sport, and that sport just worked me out so hard.
I was eating grapes and lettuce every day. All right, bro.
And it was to the point where I just was scared to eat. I didn't like it. I would only drink water.
When you were eating grapes and lettuce, were you thin?
I was the thinnest I could be.
Were you still big though?
I was still big, but that was the skinniest I've ever been. And that's coming from.
Were you still big though?
I was still big.
You were still big, eating grapes and water every day and lettuce? We weren't born yesterday, gang. You guys was not eating grapes and lettuce every day.
I've ever been, and that's coming from somebody who was only eating somewhat salads that are just fruit and lettuce and water and maybe ice right before a practice.
Do you think
that the human body doesn't work like that, bro? You can't eat grapes, ice, lettuce, and be 455 pounds. Genetics plays a role, bro, but are we serious right now?
That right now you would not be capable of
becoming
a thin woman
I possibly would be capable of becoming a thin woman, but since I was young, I was supposed to get blood tested probably when I was very, very young, and I never did. And they had mentioned that it could have been because of my weight and how that connects with my thyroid. I never made the connection, and I never had that leaning parent to be go and get checked out, go and do this, your weight is probably not your fault. It was always your weight is your fault, so that's your issue.
I mean, I also struggle with, thyroid and my own
I don't know what thyroid
blood
is. I'm
issues.
not going to comment on that.
I'm not quite sure, but I do see an endocrinologist, and I go see a doctor. It's a choice to do the
I've seen her before in the video.
It's a choice to go grocery shopping instead of going to fast food when it's easy. It's a choice when you're grocery shopping to go to the outer aisles and like not go into the bread section and not go into the junk food section. These are all choices.
As a disabled woman, I can't do a lot of the things that people say, calories in, calories out, oh, you gotta go work out and exert it. A lot of the things that are typical, oh, this is how you lose weight, put me in the hospital. I have to navigate weight differently. I have to look at it differently. My weight is the way it is because of medication, because doctors put me in this position. And I had to learn, okay, am I going to be so hateful of my own body that I am going to backlash and put myself through extreme gym nights, through keeping myself from eating things that I should be able to eat. You should be able to have a balance. You should be able to go into the junk food aisle like other skinny people do and still not have to worry about gaining 20 pounds.
But I don't think skinny people go into this junk food aisle.
They
I think
certainly do.
Yes, they do.
I eat a lot of junk food.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right. I'm a skinny nigga. I'll comment on this. I eat like shit. I'll keep it 1,000. Genetics does come into part for that. I have a fast metabolism. But I do go to the gym at the same time, though. But I feel like, bro, you're saying, oh, I should be able to eat this. I should be able to eat that. You got to realize, bro, in life, you got to play with the cards you were fucking dealt, bro. So if you were dealt the disabled cards, you can't be eating McDonald's, Oreos. Because since you're not as active, those calories add up. You just got to eat healthy, bro.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
My
It's a choice.
would tell you otherwise.
There's a thing called
Okay, but this
set
nigga
point.
has a
There's
fast metabolism.
ton of
obviously.
research on it, that your body likes to be at specific weights. It likes to be in a specific way. So if you are fighting yourself to lose weight by not eating, over exercising, and you are damn near killing yourself to be at a specific weight, your body's unhappy.
It's important to know.
Bro, your body's not happy. Bro, there's niggas who are 600 pounds who've lost the weight, bro. You can't
Note
say
that
that.
a choice can
Way
be
more than
harder
you
for
and
people
lost
to
it.
make due to conditions in their life. But at the end of the day, it's still a choice. I could say that I had food addiction. I looked to food when I was stressed and this and that and this. And so it's harder for me to choose it than for someone who has like the perfect lifestyle. Someone who has parents who are giving them this and that and this. But I definitely still acknowledge that it was my choice. At the end of the day, when I go there and I look and I see, should I order a second hamburger? I'm the one choosing whether or not I order that second hamburger. I'm the one making that choice.
Thank you, bro, for taking accountability. BetterHelp. You don't sponsor me. Maybe when y'all sponsor me, you know what I'm saying, I'll watch this advertisement, but y'all don't pay me. I would rather be skinny than fat. Yeah, I'd rather be skinny than fat. That's the easy question. Bro, anybody who says y'all are fucking lying, I already know he's gonna go because he keeps 1,000. But these two are about to cap. These three maybe.
Can the agreeers please step forward?
Wow. What? Thank you, bro. Thank you for being real, bro. I respect you for that. Capper. You're skinny. I'm not gonna say anything
I
about it.
think there's
You're strange.
a lot of
I
different
know you're trying to be like a different guy. You don't want to be fat. It's just not working. Stop.
struggles when it comes to being a bit bigger. And I have a sister that is she's 400 pounds. And she struggles a lot. She has lymphedema, and to shower is really, really hard.
Yeah.
So I do think for like an overall happy life and like zero struggle, I think I'd rather be skinny.
I think that
I
it
agree.
is common
Quality
in
of life.
society to want to be skinny. I think the average person typically wants to be skinny. I'm actually surprised that I didn't see more people come forward on that question.
They're gonna lie in the video,
people
bro.
treat you better.
They do?
Is what is considered the
I
standard
don't know if fat
of
people get
beauty.
treated, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know
Life
you get treated bad.
expectancy is longer. You tend to be healthier.
I'm also really tall. I'm 6'6".
Damn.
So I kind of wish I could just pick a single struggle because finding the clothes and things like that when you're bigger both ways can make it really hard. So if I was skinnier, at least that's one less thing I have to worry about. But also, I've got 2 kids and a wife, and I'm taking care of them. And as you pointed out, I definitely think that I'm at less health risks if I'm a skinnier person, if I'm a healthier person in that capacity.
My bad.
And I would much rather be that so that I could be around for my kids longer.
Can the disagreeers please step forward?
Let's see. I want to hear your answers though.
I'm speaking as someone who actually was a former smaller person.
Okay.
And I had the most body insecurities when I was small. I was constantly living in fear of gaining weight and having people tell me, oh, don't gain weight, don't
Now
eat
that you
this,
gain the
make sure
weight,
that your
you
weight is
happier?
the same. And once I finally gained weight, I realized that, first off, life wasn't over. I didn't feel any need to not engage in life the previous way that I had, and the attention that I got was different. But even as a smaller person, you get negative attention. And rather than trying to
Just cope.
control my body to avoid that negative attention, I would prefer to
Okay,
address the
forget
situation.
the attention, bro. Forget the attention. What's healthier? Being 800 pounds or being 190 pounds? Being 400 pounds or being 200 pounds? What's healthier? Come on, bro. We're beating around the bush
make
here.
it more accessible for everybody to where we aren't feeling like I have to be a certain way that's normal in order to be treated like a human being and respected.
If I could counter, because I was a bit bigger when I was younger, and that's when I was the most insecure. I would look in the mirror. I did have family members that
an honest
were
person on
skinny,
a
but then
jubilee
I had
video.
a family member that
This is
was
rare.
much bigger. And just the way that I perceived myself, I hated it, and I even became anorexic to like not be big.
I don't think skinny always equates to being healthy.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I am fairly skinny. I'm 6'5". I'm 140 pounds last time.
You're 6'5", 140? He was not capping about not eating.
Checked, and I'm severely underweight.
Yeah.
And I know about
It's
this
okay,
on
though.
a day-to-day basis.
It doesn't change overnight. We're
I
just
don't
working
know where I'd want to lean at an appropriate weight level, but I think it's important to understand for some skinny people, we're not living a great life by any means. And sometimes I feel like that's always kind of lost in translation when they see someone who's really
It's
skinny.
easier to be
I
skinnier
guess
than
it
fat.
depends on what you mean when you think of the term skinny. Are you thinking of just like an average weight person, or are you thinking of how you are now?
I'm the average weight for like women in America.
Yeah,
So if we're talking about an average, like I'm gonna be the closest. If your biggest priority is average weight for
An average weight person, or are you thinking of how you are now?
I'm the average weight for like women in America.
So
if we're talking about an average, like I'm gonna be the closest. If your biggest
You're a fucking capper. You're not 170 pounds.
priority is to be at a smaller body, you need to reassess your priorities.
Yeah, not focused on health.
Because I'm not even I'm not 170. I'm not 170. I'm not 170. I'm taller than you. There's no way if I'm not 170, you're okay.
Yeah.
And the immediate tie between skinniness and health, like you emphasized, there is such a gap between, one, the research, because the research has a huge fat-phobic bias in it, and there has been research that shows that they aren't, even especially during, let's say, COVID and the correlation between obesity. They rushed through those studies so fast because in society's mind, oh, of course a fat person is going to equal someone who's going to get sick faster, is going to get sick easier. It was an easy jump. So they didn't do all of the testing that they were supposed to do. They didn't check their bias.
So
they
if
didn't
by
check.
saying the study is biased, you're saying that the study didn't account for the variable that obesity may also take a factor into. It's just that there's so many variables in humanity that these pharmaceutical companies could only account for so many during their trials. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're biased. However, you want to talk about bias in studies, actually recently we've been doing the opposite. So for instance, a lot of our studies have been based on BMI.
Now these are some good ass questions.
And so we've been showing that, fat people aren't necessarily extremely unhealthy if we look at people with a certain BMI. However, bodybuilders also have a really high BMI, and so they get counted into that category. And so it wasn't until very recently that they equated for that mistake, and it shows, oh my goodness, being fat is actually extremely unhealthy, like way more unhealthy than we ever realized.
You can't gauge health by looking at somebody.
Yeah.
Like none of my health issues, all of them precipitated my weight gain, but I always get assumed, oh, don't you want to be skinny so that you don't have a cane anymore and you don't feel the way you feel? And it's like, no, because I have lupus and I'm always going to feel like this.
I don't think anybody thinks
CRPS.
you walk around with a cane. I didn't think, I personally did not think you were walking around with the cane because you were big. That's me keeping it real. I didn't think that cane had anything to do with your weight. I just thought you were big because you just ate a lot. I'm not going to lie. I knew the cane was like something completely unrelated.
America has an obesity problem.
Yes, it does. Look at it's 98% of the votes. Thank you for being real. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
I think it's pretty clear. You look at the weight of the average American, you see how obesity has affected not just children. I mean, the fact that we have more younger and younger people who are looking heavier and heavier, and you see that, like, you know, the way that weight affects us as a society, and you compare that to how we were in the past. Now, not that we should always, you know, we shouldn't compare ourselves to the era of the Great Depression, where people just couldn't find food, of course, but people are heavier now in an unhealthy way, and people are eating unhealthy. They are eating it through unhealthy access to food. They're eating diets high in seed oils. They're eating high corn syrup. They're doing all this.
This nigga knows what he's talking about. He knows like about the seed oils, corn syrup, all that bad shit. I would be eating every day. I be eating any food.
It's not a good thing. It's an epidemic. It needs to be quashed in some capacity.
There's so much access to just anything. Like, it's so crazy these days, and you know,
I want to see the next
so
couple questions. I want to see
we're
this.
actually supporting access to healthy food. My personal opinion.
Fat shaming is worse than skinny shaming.
My answer to this, I ain't gonna lie, I don't know, because there are some on the extreme ends of both sides are fucking bad. If you're skinny shaming a person who's really skinny, has issues, you're fucked up. If you're fat shaming a fat nigga, that's fucked up. So it's both fucked up. Let's not compare two evils. You know, they're both fucking evil, and that's my opinion. A nigga like me, I'm standing in the middle for something like this. And let's not say one thing is worse than the other. It's both body shaming.
Is worse than skinny shaming. Just overall, entirely, the way that people like comment on people's weight compared to somebody skinny, they usually don't comment on somebody skinny. They don't think there's something wrong with them. They don't, like, they'll maybe say like, oh,
even my fat homeboys, I don't be calling them fucking fat. Like, I'll flame them on everything. I'll be like, nigga, you're a bitch. You're not, you know what I'm
very thin. Do you want to eat a cheeseburger? But that's not as bad as telling somebody you eat 10. Stop, and you don't even know that they're eating 10.
Fat shaming
I used to get skinny shamed like back in the day before I started going to the gym.
You're not gonna not get a job because you're too skinny. Skinny bodies are praised in our society, whereas not get a job because you're too skinny. Skinny bodies are praised in our society.
You can't get a job. You cannot get a job.
Fat bodies, like, I don't get it as often as other people, but I get a lot of comments on my Instagram that are saying like, you're really beautiful, but you would look a lot better if you lost 50, 60 pounds.
That's mean. You don't gotta say that, but come on. That's fucked up though. Whoever comments
something that I always get a lot of comments on is my masculinity as a man because of how skinny I am.
I can see that.
Something that I've always kind of dealt with. My favorite comment is always, I look like a sickly, ill Victorian child. And
that's horrible.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at that.
No. I don't. It doesn't bother me as much, but this idea that skinny people can't also feel get these kind of comments are just kind of mind blowing. That doesn't mean that they're, you know, that one side is getting it worse than the other. I think
it's not worse.
Sides getting piled on just at different varying degrees.
I think we're conflating two things as well. So there's a difference between fat shaming and fat discrimination. Fat shaming is an aspect of
fat shaming, fat discrimination. Are we talking about fat discrimination right now? The fuck?
Fat discrimination, but some of the things you were touching on are specifically societal and systemic fat discrimination that goes into our medical system, it goes into employment, it goes into all of our civil rights. As fat people, that skinny people don't necessarily have that same issue. And I come from cultures where
she knows, this girl in the red knows she's spouting straight bullshit. Look at her face. Look at her fucking face. She's like, bro, you're not talking about shits.
Have that same issue. And I come from cultures where they straight out called out skinny people. Oh, you look like bones. Oh, flaca. All of that. So I watched my cousins go through it. I went through it when I would get too skinny. As people, we are just too scrutinized when it comes to our bodies. We don't let people live.
But I think that's a good point you said. You
Fat or
were
skinny.
called
People care too much
skinny
about other people.
bones when you got
Not I, my cousin.
But your cousin. So people using shame as a motivator to get your cousin to not be too skinny. Shame as a motivator is a powerful tool.
It
so
is,
the reason I stood
but
over
it's
there
like,
is fat shaming worse than skinny shaming. Well, you could argue that shaming somebody in order to motivate them towards a healthy lifestyle is actually a good thing. Now, I have a lot of empathy because hearing your story about how you've been struggling with this since you were a child.
Since I was like a newborn baby, like health.
Okay, I don't know. She might have said there do be some parents who be feeding their kids the worst fucking meals every day, and you can't control that. If you're one of them people, bro, and you're just big, that I ain't gonna lie, I feel like you truly can't control it because your parents from an early age built those terrible ass those terrible habits, bro, and I feel that. So if your parents did it, then you get a pass. I ain't gonna lie. But if you chose to be fat yourself, like your parents were just regular, you're just fat nigga.
Just everything's just been on that end where I've never known anything about being skinny or being fit or being athletic. I've never known.
I hope you do one day.
Like
Probably your situation. I don't think shame necessarily would motivate you, but for somebody where it is a option. So for instance, if you watch TLC, you watch My 600 Pound Life,
she said the forbidden. She said the forbidden show.
Family by the Ton. All of them can do it. All of them have had this systemic issue
That's
of
the
weight
thing, though. I
gain.
have watched those like as a younger person, and it would make me feel disgusted with me when I was a kid. So it would make me worse, and it made my mental health worse. Because then I'm like, is that how like everybody automatically views me as just like somebody?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Some people do be looking at fat people like that.
Could possibly never even attain it because it's so just common.
I don't think we should shame anyone to do anything.
I agree.
I think everyone
That's
deserves
the only thing you've said with this whole video I agree with.
like themselves
Who
enough.
cares? Stop
to,
shaming
like,
niggas. I
enjoy
ain't gonna lie,
life.
fat or skinny.
And if you do that as a fat person, okay. If you do it as a skinny person, also chill. It's not my business.
Shame is a broad category. I do think shame works in some cases.
Yeah, it does.
I think that there has been good fat shaming towards me and bad fat shaming. Bad fat shaming is just, somebody just saying, you're fat, things like that. That doesn't really work. But what does work is somebody looking at me and saying, don't you want to be around for your kids? And that worked.
I don't think
that
that's
worked.
shaming.
Yeah, like, do you consider that shaming?
I do. I think that's shaming. I think they were telling me, like, you should lose weight to be around for your children. I think that's shame, like an attempt to like try and say something bad about me.
Like they're personalizing it towards you.
I see what he's saying. That was good. I was at first. I was like, I don't know what you mean. But
that worked. I think that worked. That really
was
encouraged me to go to the gym and start trying to lose weight.
But that's you though.
I found mine
Sure.
yesterday.
I think you have to be specific to the person.
I think that's one thing is it depends on the
I'll
person.
finish this question and
if,
wrap up stream.
If someone wants to shame me and it depends on the person. I've been shamed a couple times and it's kicked me into gear to try to gain weight, but it's still really hard.
Sure.
And it's, it depends on who you are.
Not getting weight is
When
hard,
you were making
bro.
a
I
comment
struggle
about
getting
people
weight.
questioning
I'm like
their masculinity, I get the
58
question
right now.
of
157.
actually looking like a woman all the time, and it's always in play. I always get compared to like male characters,
Like
especially
5'10"
when I don't wear
too.
makeup, and that's because I don't have boobs, and I can't help that. But it's
Yeah, that's not your fault.
definitely
That's
really,
weird.
really
People-
hard
it's
to
weird
like
people comment on shit
have
like that you
people
can't
tell
control.
you constantly, like, here's the standard of how a woman should look, and you don't look like that.
Weird ass niggas.
Without even saying it. They don't say it. They're categorizing me. They're making fun of me, saying that I look like this one soccer player or something. And,
Wow.
I think it's funny, but also shame can also be hard because I can see what you mean. Sometimes it can really motivate you when it's out of love, but
Yes,
when it's out
that's
of
the
pain
difference.
and when it's out of like not knowing someone
Yeah.
and just saying
Just
it, then
viciousness.
Yeah, the people who said that to me about my kids were not, just some random guy online. It was
Right.
people who were close to me and I knew cared about me, who I had a conversation with. So I do think it matters who says it, but I still would consider it to an extent shaming. And I'm okay with that. I think there is good shame. I think I think sometimes it helps motivate people in the right way.
Yo, what's up? I was recording this video, realized I didn't have an outro. So, here's the outro. Thanks for watching.